So as most of you guys probably already know, the Richmond Football Club are expected to hit the 2025 AFL free agency and trade period pretty intensely. I mean, they have really set themselves up to have a ton of salary cap going forward, not only this upcoming year, but of course in the future as well, with players like Dustin Martin, who was on about 1.5 million last year, no longer playing for them. Shea Bolton on 1.3 million, I believe it was last year, also not playing for them. And of course, the big one this year, Tom Lynch, who is the highest paid player in the game on about $1.6 million, having his contract, of course, expire. Now, they have somewhat moved some of their money around. Again, Noah Bolter did pen a massive contract not long ago, but as we know, that's a big 8-year deal or so, and is expected to be pretty back-ended and tie into the AFL salary cap that will be going up in 2031 with the new deal. So the Tigers are going to have a ton of salary cap, right? And it's a hard situation in the AFL because the AFL, from what I know, is like one of the only leagues in the whole entire world that I think actually makes you spend your salary cap. It's really, really strange, but it's also tortured a lot of teams previously, like the Gold Coast Suns, who have had to pay for like Jack Lukosius and Jack Bowes in previous years and, you know, struggled to dump their salaries off elsewhere. Again, Richmond are in a situation where they have so much salary cap, they're not going to want to, I think, overpay too many players. They're definitely going to, you know, especially on their own team, they're going to really try and outsource and bring in some free agents. And luckily enough for us, they have been linked to a couple of guys who I want to talk about in today's video, talking about the three main, free agent slash trade players that they are, of course, looking at. And now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure most of these guys, I think other than Matt Rowell, who we're going to talk about first, are still contracted. So it's very interesting, but as we know, at least 50% of AFL players who get traded are contracted. So it's just how it is. And Richmond have been linked to all three of these guys. So I'm going to be going in order from, I think, least likely Richmond are going to get to most likely Richmond are going to get. And as I just said, we're starting off with Matt Rowell, because Matt Rowell is a really, really interesting one. As we know, it's been reported that like nearly every Victorian team is interested in him. He has met with like nearly every single Victorian team. I believe it's been reported the Tigers are interested in him. I think there's been rumors the Tigers have met with him. But at the end of the day, they are interested in Matt Rowell for 100 different reasons. Again, I think the total like opinion by Richmond fans out there is that Matt Rowell actually wouldn't fit the Tigers, because the Tigers already have too many contested inside clearance players like Tim Taranto, Jacob Hopper, and now Josh Smiley. They need to go out and desperately add some speed into that midfield. But then there's the other argument of, yes, that's technically true, but I think getting Matt Rowell right now would be a massive move for the future. And what I mean by that is the fact that at the end of this season, Tim Taranto and Jacob Hopper only have 4 years each left on their contract. And the reality is that even though both of those guys have been pretty good for the Tigers and have added great veteran experience and leadership and have actually been racking up the disposals, as we know, I think their clearance numbers are actually like, if you're going to compare them to every other team's two main contested, inside midfielders, I think they're like one of the last group of players. Again, the Tigers have been struggling so bad in the clearance game this year, which is really, really unfortunate when you think that that's actually kind of what like Hopper and Taranto were brought in to do, and they're really not doing it. So the argument could be made is that Richmond should go out for Matt Rowell and bring him to the team, because obviously in 4 years' time anyway, when Matt Rowell will be 27 years old, Jacob Hopper and Tim Taranto might not even be on the team, or they might be, again, just coming back on 1 year deals. They might not even be getting a game. Again, 4 years is a long time to think about from now, and both of those guys are going to be into their early 30s, so we really don't know how they're going to be tracking and what they're going to be going like. So In realism as well, Matt Rowell would fix their clearance issue. He would also help the contested game that Adam Uze seems to be really trying to build, and it would give you another different avenue to go about it with this team. Again, do I think they should go for him? I see both sides, positive and negative. I personally think there should be other guys they look at before Matt Rowell, but I also see it as an interesting option considering he's only 23 years old, which is still crazy to think. But the reality is that I still kind of think he might re-sign with Gold Coast, but it is a bit weird. He bought like a $2.4 million house in Kew or whatever. Like, what the hell? That doesn't sound like an investment property to me. If you want to get an investment property, you go buy 3 houses in freaking Cranbourne or something like that. You don't get one in Kew. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know about that one. It's definitely a bit suspicious, but it's also like Richmond have to give up a fair bit for Matt Rowell because I think he's restricted, which means Gold Coast can match him. They trade up, trade him to the Tigers, and I think the Tigers would probably have to give up their pick number 3, obviously, and probably a future second, something like that, which is a fair bit to give up for a player like Matt Rowell. So I'm not sure about that one. Again, the second one, though, we do have is Zack Butters. Again, I'm sure if you guys are a Richmond fan, you've probably heard all the rumours and news reports that the Tigers are extremely interested in Zack Butters. That is no secret that the Tigers really do want him. Again, Zack Butters is slightly older than Matt Rowell. He is 24 years of age, I believe. But the difference with Zack Butters is that Zack Butters, like, he kind of consensusly, I think, fits the team. I mean, he desperately adds the speed that the Tigers need, the speed out of the stoppage, the clearance work that the Tigers need. His contested game is pretty good. He ticks every single box off that the Tigers need other than ball use. Again, Zack Butters isn't the greatest ball user in the world. I mean, when he's on, he's on. Like, he's an elite ball user when he is absolutely on. But when he's having a crappy day, sometimes you'll see this guy just hand pass it, and it will be the worst hand pass turnover you'll see. Again, in saying that, though, that's just one little disrespect to Zack Butters' game that is 100 great things about it. I mean, this guy has led his team to 2 or 3 prelims, I think, as the vice captain. I mean, realistically, the Tigers could absolutely use him, and I think they will offer him like an 8-year type of deal that would keep him to the team till he's 32 to 33 years old. Again, that's just the reality of what we're looking at with these contracts, and Zack Butters actually strikes me as the type of guy who could play into his early 30s and do it well. At least I hope. Again, it's so far away, you don't really know. But at the end of the day, I also think this would be why Zack Butters would also go to the Tigers is not only because I think we'd offer him the most money. That's number 1. Number 2, he's an incredible fit. Number 3, he would surely absolutely love the young core that he's got going on. And number 4, I believe he would think he's going to get to captain this young core. Again, Zack Butters is the vice captain of the Port Adelaide Football Club and probably won't be the captain over Connor Rozee, at really any time. Again, there's been rumours why they gave Connor Rozee the captain. It could just be because he's a better leader. But some people have also theorised they gave Rozee the captain over Butters because they are more certain he's going to stay. So, Zack Butters seems to be a great leader. We know this. And reality is, I think Richmond could be doing what Adelaide did with Jordan Dawson, where Zack Butters would come to the team maybe in 2026 if they do go out and try and trade for him. But when in 2027 comes around after he's been with the Tigers for 1 year, and he would be a good age of 26 years old, I think the Tigers would therefore make him like captain. I think that would be very much a part of the pitch to be able to potentially captain this football club, because after Nank, the Tigers are in that weird period where they don't really have any captains coming through, and all the leaders are like Jane Short, Nathan Broad, in their 30s, all of the above, right? And then all the other guys you think are going to be leaders are like Josh Smiley, Sam Lawler, who are only 19 years old. So it's like you need a guy to be captain for the 4 to 6 years while Lawler and Smiley are developing and are going to hopefully be captain material at like 23 to 25 years of age. Again, I think Zack Butters would be that perfect fit. He could be captain for like 4 to 5 years, in that mix between area. He's also a vice captain right now, a top 5 player in the game when he's absolutely on. The only issue is everything I've said so far sounds perfect and awesome, The issue is that Zach Butters is, in fact, contracted. He has one more year to go. And the reality is that if you were to try and trade for Zach Butters, the optimistic part of me thinks you could offer up, again, maybe pick 2 and a future first round pick to get it done. But I don't think Port Adelaide are going to do that, because if Zach Butters comes to the team and the Tigers continue to grow, that future first round pick might be like pick 6 or 7, and they're not going to be as keen on that. So they will probably straight up ask for picks 2 and 3 for Zach Butters, which I don't know if the Tigers are going to do. The other thing is Port have the option is they can just wait out a year on Zach Butters, and if they finish last next year, right, if they finish last next year, which, again, who knows if it's going to happen or not. Right now, they're 15th, and I don't think they're really going to get better. I'm not too sure. We don't know. It's still so far away. Let's just say in this hypothetical world, they finish last. Then Zach Butters leaves in free agency. They don't match him. They'd get pick 2 in comp, and they would be pretty happy with that, especially if they got one more year of Zach Butters to maybe convince him to stay. Again, that's the thing. I don't think Port Adelaide want Zach Butters to leave. So if they had one more year to convince him to stay, and the worst thing is he leaves and they get pick 1 or 2 back, as comp, that's good for them, rather than just straight away trading him right now for 2 or 3 in what's, there might not be as favourable as a draft to them. Again, there might be a South Australian guy in next year's draft they absolutely love. So you really don't know. It's a lot of ifs and buts on what these teams are going to do, right? But I think Port Adelaide will keep Zach Butters for another year. That is my call on it. So that's why I think this is a little bit less likely. And also I think Essendon are going to offer Zach Butters as much as Richmond, and they're going to offer Port Adelaide an arm and a leg to try and get this done, because they just need someone desperately. So I could also see that happening, right? But again, the most likely player I think the Tigers are possibly going to get at this time making this video does happen to be Harley Reed. Again, the Harley Reed rumours and news are coming out left, right and centre. Originally, it was said that Hawthorn and Geelong were like the favourites, and then Essendon were offering the most money. All of the above, but in the last couple of weeks, there have absolutely been rumours about Richmond and them being interested in Harley Reed, and also rumours and reports around that Richmond's new draftees have actually been texting Harley Reed to maybe convince him to come to the club. There's rumours he's actually got a pretty good connection with Sammy Lawler and a bunch of other different rumours. And that's all speculation. But what we do know is from the fact is that Richmond are interested in him. They're going to offer him probably the most out of all these teams, other than maybe Essendon. They also have the most to give up to get Harley Reed, because I think pick 2 and 3 would get the deal done, right? Richmond had pick 2 and 3 at the time making this video. I think if they went and offered that to the West Coast Eagles, that should get it done. I mean, 2 and 3 is a massive package considering they have pick 1. And they're going to get pick 2, right, for Oscar Allen comp. So we could be living in a world, and this is not an argument, right? Oscar Allen, when he does leave West Coast for Brisbane, from the reported deals that he's being offered, it will be a band 1 compensation. Do not get that twisted. From the reported deals Oscar Allen is being offered, it will be a band 1 comp, which means they will get a pick next to their, wherever they finish on the ladder, which is last, right? That means they'll have pick 1 and pick 2 for Oscar Allen, which would move Richmond's pick 2 and 3 to pick 3 and 4, which they could get back for Harley Reid, meaning that West Coast could have pick 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the 2025 AFL draft. Is that not absolutely insane to think about? I mean, how do you say no to that if you're the Eagles? You get the choice of the best 4 players in the country. You can't mess that up. You get the choice of the best 4, man. Like, what the hell? Like, that is crazy. Something you would think you'd never ever see. But with Richmond dominating the draft last year and getting all the picks that they did, it just proves that anything like this is legitimately possible. So that's going to be super interesting if that does go down. But the realistic thing is that Harley Reid's still probably like a 25% chance to pick Richmond, because we got to remember Hawthorn are still a massive part in this thing. Geelong are, apparently, I don't know how. Essendon are, and West Coast still think they are, because they've got him contracted for 1 more year, as well as other clubs now like Melbourne starting to come into the frame of things. So this could realistically go down in a lot of different directions, right? And I think Richmond should probably be the favourite. I can't see why he wouldn't want to go to the Tigers. So much less pressure at Richmond right now with all the young players that they have. You're not going to be the only one who's under stress about doing stuff. You've got all these players to share the load with that the Tigers have right now. Plus, Richmond have probably the best trade package to offer. Because as I said, if you're West Coast and you can get picks 1 through 4 out of him and Allen, yeah. I mean, how could you not do that? So, yeah, I think Harley Reid would be a massive chance to go to Richmond. It would be such a massive thing for Richmond to have 2 pick 1s in a row of Harley Reid and Sam Lawler, and both of them can play mid and forward and rotate. Plus the undeniably good young core that Richmond already have. It is something they will definitely look at, and they will probably still see themselves having enough assets to still hit the draft in the next couple years before Tasmania come in. I think they'll have one more draft after this one, or no, 2 more, sorry, I think they'll have 2026 draft, and they might have 2027, but the picks will probably be compromised because of Tassie. I think that's how it's going to work. We really don't know, right? There's a lot of ifs and buts with all of this, but I'd very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions down below. Again, as the time continues to go on, Richmond are going to be interested in, I think, more and more free agents. And, like, I think Dan Butler's brother, I think his name's Sam Butler, who plays for Hawthorn, was a pretty high pick, and he's not getting a game. There's been slight rumours that Richmond may be interested in a guy like that. Again, there'll be a ton of other players that I think the Tigers are going to look at in this upcoming free agency. But again, I'd very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section down below. Who do you guys think Richmond are going to be interested in? Do you guys think these will be the 3 main ones? And who would you like to see them maybe go for? Again, I'd very much like to know down below. Subscribe to my gaming channel and my sports channel, which is this one, for latest sports content, AFL content, news. My gaming channel will be linked down below. Yeah, leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.